إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره نعوذ به تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ملك الحق المبين أشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا وأسوتنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صفته من خلقه وحبيبه أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل هذا الدين حتى أتاه اليقين ربنا فاجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جزيت به نبيا عن أمته ورسولا عن قومه أحنا اللهم على سنته ولا تقبضنا إلا على ملته واحشرنا في زمرته كما آمنا به ولم نره ولا تفرق بيننا وبينه يوم القيامة حتى تدخلنا مدخله برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وبعد عباد الله إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تبارك وتعالى وإن خير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إن شر الأمور محدثاتها وإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. إن الله تبارك وتعالى قد ميز هذه الأمة عن غيرها من الأمم بخصال عدة وصفات جمة كبيرة. إن رأيت مسلما ورأيت غير مسلم عرفت الفرق فورا. ومن هذه الصفات أن الله تبارك وتعالى جعل هذه الأمة أمة مجاهدة تبتغي بجهادها في سبيل الله تبارك وتعالى وجهه ورضاه والجنة. أمة تعرف أن الحياة ليست هنا وإنما هناك. أمة تبني لمستقبلها في الآخرة حدائق وجنان وقصور. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, my dear respected brothers and sisters, has made this ummah different in many ways. If you make a comparison, would it be fair to any other ummah? Because this ummah is so distinctive, is so distinguished, is so different in a very, very good way, so that it would not be fair to compare anybody else to it. This ummah with its tawheed, the only straight, correct tawheed that exists on earth today, has its target to live in akhirah more than it lives here. Ummah that counts on what comes after death more than it counts what's in this world. Ummah believes in akhirah so much that they spend most of their money, sometimes a small portion of their money, that they don't get anything in return in this dunya because they know that the reward for this money is in akhirah. Ummah that will sacrifice everything they have, their life itself, and give it happily and willingly fi sabilillah, because they know the life, the real life, the true life is not here. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in the Quran, amongst the believers, people who have fulfilled their oath with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and kept their covenant to the last minute of their lives. Some of them has already took their way to akhirah, and others are still waiting. And they've never has altered their aqidah or their faith with anything else. My dear brothers and sisters, the stories of our heroes throughout the history are the evidence for that. When I remember a khutbah that I heard when I was young about Anas ibn al-Nadr, in Hadith Sahih, radiyallahu anhu ardah, Anas ibn Malik narrates the story, because Anas ibn Nadr is his uncle, and he was named after him, Anas. Anas ibn Nadr said he was kept, and he were not in the first battle of Badr. He was not. He was so sad that he couldn't make it, that he said once to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَإِنْ أَشْهَدَنِ اللَّهُ قِتَالَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ فَلَيَرَيَنَّ اللَّهُ مَا أَصْنَعُ. If Allah has written it in His ilm that I will ever fight fi sabilillah, then Allah will see what I'll do. In the day of Uhud was it his day to fulfill his oath. And when people started to back out, when the rumor came that the Prophet ﷺ was killed, and people started to back out after it looked like it's going to be a defeat, Anas ibn Nadr said, Allahumma inni أبرأ إليك مما صنع هؤلاء يعني المشركين وأعتذر إليك مما صنع هؤلاء يعني المسلمين. Allah, he says, Ya Allah, I apologize for those companions of your Prophet have done. And he took on, in that return, on the opposite direction where everybody is running away, he's facing it. And then he was not seen until in the end of the battle. When they found him, they found 80 wounds, all in his front. None of the ones that were in his back. 80. And he was among the shuhada. Anas ibn Malik, his nephew, says, فَلَا أَحْسَبَنَّ قَوْلَ اللَّهِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ نزل إلا في مثل عمي. I don't think this ayah was revealed in anyone different than what my uncle did. In the day of Mu'tah, and the day of Mu'tah was a very, very important battle in the history of Islam. Because Rasulullah appointed 3 leaders. Zayd ibn Haritha to start. And if he falls, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib is to take over. And if he dies, Abdullah ibn Rawaha will take over. Khalid ibn Walid was in this army. Radiallahu anhum jami'an. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to them, اغزوا بسم الله في سبيل الله من كفر بالله لا تغدروا ولا تغلوا ولا تقتلوا وليدا ولا امرأة ولا كبيرا فانيا ولا منعزلا بصومعة ولا تقطعوا نخلا ولا شجرا ولا تهدموا بناء. Allah, Rasulullah says, go in the name of Allah, for the sake of Allah. Fight those who fight you against your faith. Don't betray anyone. Don't attack anybody from the back. Don't take anything that is not yours. Don't steal anything because you can. Don't kill a child or a woman or an old man or woman. Don't attack somebody who is worshiping in his own worshiping place, no matter what he worships. Don't cut a tree and don't destroy a building. This is the wasiyah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the people who are going to spread the message of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has sent a messenger to the king of Al-Ghasasina at that time. After Al-Hudaybiyah came, and then we have a treaty and there is peace. No fighting with Quraysh or Mecca. So Rasulullah started by writing letters to the kings surrounding Arabia at this time. And the closest people were in Iraq. The king of Ghasasina, they were Ahlul Kitab. So as soon as this Sahabi, Al-Harith, radiallahu anhu, arrived, they tied him to the tree and they cut off his neck. They killed him. And it was a tradition not to kill a messenger. A messenger is just a messenger. مَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. But they did that. They killed the messenger. So Rasulullah sent the army for that reason, because any other people who has sent a messenger in peace and got killed, they will send the army for it. Ghasasina called upon the Romans, the Byzantines, and the Byzantines sent 100,000 people, 100,000 soldiers. And amongst the Ghasasina came almost another 100,000, so there were 200,000 soldiers of Romans and Ghasasina against 3,000 Muslims. When they saw how big it is, they started to consult themselves. They're just going to kill us all. No one will be left to go home. Are we just going to throw ourselves into death like that? Abdullah ibn Rawaha radiallahu anhu says, إن الذي تخشون لهو الذي خرجتم من أجله. What you fear and what you're concerned about is what you got out your houses for. It's a win-win. We either win here in this dunya or be winners in akhirah. It's a win-win situation, what you're afraid of. Let's go. And he encouraged people, and he was very eloquent speaker. He was a poet. Abdullah ibn Rawaha radiallahu anhu. And then they agreed that they will attack first thing after Fajr. And they did, and it was hard. And the Romans were surprised that they will attack so few of them, and they take initiatives and attack first. The next day they attacked again, and they killed many of the enemy, and only a few of the Muslims died. The third day they surprised them before Fajr. The Romans surprised the Muslims before Fajr, and Zayd ibn Haritha was killed first. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he took the flag and in his right arm, and they cut off his right arm. He took it by his left, they cut it off. He put it between his two bones of shoulder and carried it until he was killed. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdullah ibn Rawaha took the flag and he was killed too. And then they consulted among themselves. One man said, "Who are you gonna choose as your leader?" And they said, "You." I says, "No, I'm not doing it. There's Khalid ibn Walid here." So Khalid ibn Walid took over, and he was able to do some trick against the enemies that he will do a safe withdrawal, to make the long story short, and saved the whole army with only 12 casualties, where the Romans lost 3,550. 3,500 died of the enemies, and only 12 died of the Muslims. Even though it was not a victory, it was a withdrawal, but it was counted as a win situation, because the people were able to, Khalid was able to save these 3,000 people from absolute slaughter. My dear brothers and sisters, today I wanted to talk to you about this because I wanted to raise something that it is almost forgotten amongst ourselves. These people, when they were winning these wars, Badr, Uhud, Khandaq, Mu'tah, all the wars that they won in the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, in the Khilafah of Umar, all the way, all these winnings were under leaders who were not just clever military generals. They were. A lot of people talk about Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din, you know what Salah ad-Din was? Salah ad-Din memorized the whole Quran as a child, and he was one of the most beautiful reciters of the Quran. Salah ad-Din is amongst people who narrate hadith, who spent his youth sitting in front of ulama and shuyukh, receiving the hadith, so that in his battles, when he was standing the army one line after the other, he would walk amongst the lines and narrate the hadith with the people who know the hadith. They're talking about what's. Salah ad-Din memorized the whole entire book of Al-Bukhari. He knows it by heart. He was a scientist and a chemist and a physicist and tabib, doctor. So, what I am trying to bring to you today, these people who died, they were not just soldiers. Zayd ibn Haritha, if you read, I mean, there is no enough time to tell you about all these people. The one who the Prophet ﷺ gave the leadership of the army in the front. The first one, read what Zayd ibn Haritha is. He was a magnificent man. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he was one of the most magnificent Arabs in the entire peninsula. He's the Prophet's uncle, son of Abu Talib, a Prophet's cousin. Sorry. And then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he was the poet of the Prophet ﷺ who spread the word, and he was a scholar of Quran and Hadith and the ilm of Islam. He was not just a fighter. My dear brothers and sisters, when we are defeated, we look for these characters amongst us, and they're very, very little. They're very, very few. So it is not the technology that we are lacking. It is not the wealth. We're wealthy when the Arabs are the wealthiest people in the world. It's not the money. And it is not what they said, it's because they are very fighting each other and everybody just want to be, and they lack unity. It is not. I mean, unity would have been some consequences of learning the deen. It is the ignorance of our deen. It is the ignorance of our aqidah. It is what it's like we've lost our way. We don't know what we've been fought for. We're not fighting. Are we fighting as a Muslim Ummah? We're not. We're just going on with our lives. But we've been fought. We've been decimated. We've been wiped out in big numbers. We've been committed genocide against everywhere in the world, not just the ones that we see in the news. It's everywhere in the world. Genocide is happening against Muslims. And we Muslims, we don't know what we've been killed for. That's a big problem. Even if you're given the technology and the money and the strength and the will and everything else to fight, we still won't win. We still wouldn't win because we're lacking the purpose of what these people died for. Anas ibn Nadr, وزيد ibn Haritha, وعبد الله ibn Rawaha, وجعفر ibn Abi Talib. هؤلاء ماتوا في سبيل الله تبارك وتعالى يبتغون الآخرة، يبتغون الشهادة، يبتغون الجنة. كلمة عبد الله بن رواحة: إنما ما تفرون منه هو ما خرجتم من أجله. What you're trying to get away from is what you came out for. There's still some people, من المؤمنين رجال, they're still there. And the line is going on. And it will never end. But the problem, my dear brothers and sisters, is we are not preparing ourselves and our children to be these soldiers. Not to be like militants. No, to be the soldiers in heart. The soldiers of Allah who would, if they go in a battle, they would do what Rasulullah ﷺ said. Don't kill a child, don't kill an innocent, don't destroy a building, don't cut a tree, don't destroy a field of harvest. A guy who would be like Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah wa karram Allah wajhah, who was in a battle and we're killing one of his enemies, and the other guy, he lost his sword and fell on the ground, and he was about to kill him. Then the guy spit in Ali's face, radiallahu anhu wardah. وَبِئْسَ مَا فَعَلَ. What Ali ibn Abi Talib do? He turned away and let the guy live. He has his sword in his neck, and he could have just made a small move and kill his enemy. But when he spit in his face, they said, what happened? Why did you do this? He said, I was going to kill him for Allah. But when he spit in my face, he made me angry. I wanted revenge. And we're not out revenging. We're not out taking revenge at the people we're angry at. This is very, very fine line, my dear brothers. We are very angry. But we're not out angry for revenge. We are doing what Allah and His Messenger tell us to do. Establish this deed in peace and love and harmony, and spread it amongst our community, and only fight those who fight us not to do that. Who try to stop the message of Allah. These are the ones we are allowed to fight. الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله. That's the one reason we're out here. We're not angry people. We are people who are carrying love and peace and harmony and justice and prosper for humanity. وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. When we go out in the world carrying this kind of aqidah, we don't have to kill anyone. We'll just win the hearts before we win the minds. And then there will be peace. It is when Muslims drop the ball, it is when the Muslims lift the post of leading the whole world in its prosperity, in its ilm, in its knowledge. This is where we started to be martyred and murdered and committed genocide against, because the evil does not want what we want. The evil does not want justice and peace and harmony amongst humanity. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. You were sent as mercy for the world. And Shaitan says, لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. So Shaitan does not want it to happen. We are messengers of peace and justice and love, my dear brothers and sisters. Let that be who you are. Let that be what you raise your child to be, by teaching him the Quran, teaching him the Hadith, teaching him the stories of all these great heroes who were not just out there being violent or being militant or whatever they call them. They were spreaders of prosperity. They were saving people from dalal, from being filthy, from being stupid, to bring them to being smart, to being clean, to have justice and love and peace amongst themselves. Learn your deen, my brothers and sisters. And when you have the right purpose in your heart and teach it to your children, then this ummah will come back to what it was. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. My dear respected brothers and sisters, I think the message has got across to you. Our hearts are squeezed with pain and sorrow and mourning for the losses of the innocent and for the losses of the good people. But we should not let that distract us from what we are here for and what's our purpose and what's our goal in Akhirah. Whatever works to take you to Jannah, that's what you do. Whatever takes you the other direction, that's what you are against. not only not do, but you are somebody who preaches not that to be done. We lose friends and close ones every day. Our brother Abdurrahman Fa'i, he passed last week, and he's a cousin of our brother Muhammad. And I have lost siblings last couple of months. Everybody has somebody lost. And we lose important people in this ummah every day. But what we should be doing is prepare ourselves to die the day we die, looking forward for Jannah, smelling the fragrance of Jannah, hoping of all Allah's mercy to take us in His mercy and make our graves from Jannah. And here I'm going to make prayers for our brother Abdurrahman and my brother Muhammad and all those who lost dear ones the last week and the last couple of months and any other time in the past. We make dua for our dead. اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم اللهم عافهم واعف عنهم اللهم تقبلهم في الصالحين واجعلهم عندك في جنات النعيم يا ربي قدموا عليك وهم الضعفاء والمساكين وأنت أكرم الأكرمين الرحمن الرحيم اللهم فاجعل عليهم رحمتك وكرمك وإحسانك حتى يطمئنوا في قبورهم إلى مكانهم في جنات النعيم يا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لأخونا عبد الرحمن مغفرة واسعة واجعله عندك من أهل الجنان يا رب العالمين. اللهم تقبل شهداءنا في لبنان وفلسطين. اللهم تقبلهم يا ربنا في الشهداء واجعلهم في قلوب طير خضر في جنات النعيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم داوي جرحاهم واشف مرضاهم وتقبل شهداهم. اللهم أطعم جائعهم واسقهم يا رب من لدنك. أنت الرحمن الرحيم لا يرحمهم سواك فارحمهم برحمتك واطعمهم واسقهم وداويهم وارحمهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم وارحمنا إذا صرنا إلى ما صاروا إليه. اللهم اجعل قبورنا جميعا رياضا من رياض الجنة. اللهم اغفر لنا جميعا ذنوبنا في هذه الساعة مغفرة عامة شاملة تغفر لنا بها القديم والحديث والكبير والصغير والسر والعلن من ذنوبنا جميعا. اللهم وإنا نسألك من كل خير سألك منه عبدك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أن ينزل علينا في هذه الساعة وعلى أمة الإسلام. اللهم وإنا نعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذ بك منه عبدك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أن تكشفه عن هذه الأمة وعن كل واحد فينا في هذه الساعة كشفا لا يعود بها كرب ولا هم ولا غم إلى واحد من عبادك الصالحين ومن المسلمين أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا اقبلنا واجبرنا وانصرنا واسترنا وقربنا وثبتنا ثقل موازيننا وحقق إيماننا وارفع درجاتنا ونور جوعنا وادخلنا الجنة واجرنا من النار. اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها واجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقم الصلاة.